Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds. Kenya, like other countries in the world, is faced with an unprecedented crisis as a result of COVID-19 pandemic.
Kenya is the leading electricity producer in the East African region. Currently, we generate a total of 1,803 megawatts drawn from hydro, geothermal, wind, and thermal. In response to the coronavirus pandemic, we have deployed mechanisms to ensure electricity generation continues uninterrupted during this period of uncertainty. We come to work for you to ensure you have reliable electricity supply even during these hard times.
We come to you when we are sick, scared, and we trust you to give us sound advice and the care, treatment, and medication we need. You take great care to make sure your clinic or hospital is clean and safe for your doctors, nurses, visitors, and patients. We at Hako Industries appreciate you and thank you for your service to humanity. We have answered your call for a high-quality, affordable hospital sanitizer. Amara Fragrance-Free Sanitizer is an alcohol-based sanitizer containing 70% alcohol that gives a broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity, thus effective on bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Amara cares.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optiven. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke. Optiven, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
Let your little light shine for the world to see. Let your little light shine for the world to see.
It's a trying time for the world, our country, and our people. As Naivas, we are committed to safety by fumigating our stores, availing sanitizers, conducting mass testing of our employees, and offering pre-counseling and counseling support. We appreciate our employees for their daily dedication in serving our customers. And since your safety is our safety, in partnership with the Ministry of Health, let's join together in following the set protocols. Wear your mask, sanitize, maintain social distance, and have your temperature checked each time you visit our stores. Naivas saves you money.
Cynic's Android TV launch.
A stock in a move fast. Yani watu wananunua unaachwa nini? 21,799. Android TV yenye remote inaongea.
These promotions will be running from the 15th to the 21st of July.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
This is NTV.
Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to NTV Tonight. Now, in a couple of hours, the cessation of movement order that barred entry into and out of Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera counties shall lapse as ordered by the President. This is among the new directives announced today by the head of state as the number of COVID-19 cases increases. We'll get a breakdown of those numbers locally in a moment, but first globally. The number of confirmed cases has surpassed 11.6 million, with more than 500,000 deaths. In Africa, 481,266 cases have been confirmed, with a death toll of more than 11,000. And in the US, more than 3 million people have reported to have been infected, with a death toll now at more than 132,000. Let's now take a look at the highlights.
Tonight, the President flips the coin to save an ailing economy.
That the cessation of movement shall lapse today.
And now the country catches a breath.
We are extremely happy to know that tunaweza kurudi katika kusafiri.
Tunashukuru kweli rais kufungua, sababu sisi tangu ya hii lockdown kuanza kwa sababu ya corona twaumia sana.
And also tonight, the restrictions have been loosened, but the country is still in the tight grip of the virus.
By reopening Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera, we must be cognizant of the fact that we are all much more at risk than we were when the restrictions were in place.
181 more test positive. Plus, coronavirus had tested the faith, but houses of worship could reopen soon under strict protocols. And also tonight, police kill yet another man in Kisii, and they reckon with the community's anger.
NTV Tonight with Zainab Ismail.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for choosing NTV for your preferred news channel. Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agundoa. Now, tonight, the President spoke to the hearts of a majority of Kenyans and told them a lot of what they longed to hear. A phased reopening of the country to nurse an economy that had been ravaged by the coronavirus and the resultant restrictions to manage its spread. Let's take you step by step through some of these measures that will ensure the country can at least catch a breath. So first, the President lifted the ban of movement in and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area and the counties of Mombasa and Mandera effective 4 a.m. tomorrow. However, the 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. curfew has been extended for a further 30 days. The head of state announced the phased reopening of places of worship in the country, but extended the closure of bars for another 30 days. And in what will be a relief to aviation industry players and workers, local air travel shall resume on the 15th of July under Ministry of Health and Transport guidelines. International travel will resume on August 1st. The President also directed the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, to notify the public on the resumption of the 2020 academic year. Meanwhile, restrictions on political gatherings and any other gathering of that nature has been extended by another 30 days. Restrictions on weddings and funeral attendance also extended for further 30 days. But the President has warned that the order to reopen had been made conditionally, noting that should the situation get worse over the next 21 days, the country will revert to a lockdown. Well, despite those warnings to claw back on the freedoms in the event the number of infections rise for the President, it was always a balance between the economic and the health debate. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi reports on the tough choice and on the typical habits of Kenyans who soon after the relaxation measures were announced were already preparing to travel up country, raising fears that the virus could spread in the counties. Take a look.
Fellow Kenyans,
From his opening remarks, one would tell President Uhuru Kenyatta was battling hard choices as it is understood. The decision to reopen the country had not been unanimous. To the president, it was still a tough balance between saving lives and livelihoods, and none of these choices is a fair trade-off. But just as the country has been ravaged by the coronavirus, the economy has taken a battering with thousands of job cuts. The National Security Council thus had to find a compromise.
The order to reopen is given conditionally. Should the situation deteriorate and pose a challenge to our health infrastructure, we will have to revert back to lockdown. In the next 21 days, we shall study patterns of interactions and the spread of the disease.
The president noted the choice to reopen had its proponents and opponents, with the counties now having to take up the responsibility for managing and treating infected people moving through their territories.
We have not yet met 100%, but we have met a reasonable level of preparedness across our counties.
And in almost predictable fashion, thousands had already booked up to travel up country. A spot check in some of the city's public transport termini showed a surge in the number of people seeking to leave the capital. However, public transport operators will have to conform to Ministry of Health guidelines and obtain clearance certificates before they can begin operations.
By reopening Nairobi, Mombasa, and Mandera, we must be cognizant of the fact that we are all much more at risk than we were when the restrictions were in place.
An hour after his speech, buses plying the Garissa route based in Isili had received numerous calls for bookings, just like many other bus companies.
Sasa tumekupatia nafasi. Waweza utoke Nairobi, uende Nyeri, uende Kakamega, uende Machakos, uende pahali popote. Lakini ujue jukumu ni lako.
I don't know when we'll be able to resume operations, mainly because of other conditions that we need to fulfill, called the certification of the PSV driver.
The president has actually summed up his speech with one clarion call to Kenyans that it all depends with them with how this disease is going to be tackled moving forward, noting that the numbers have been rising by the day. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
Thanks, Ken. Now, although the country is yet to fully meet the irreducible minimum for a reopening, President Kenyatta says there was consensus among experts and stakeholders that the country was at a reasonable level of preparedness. Now, if you can remember, each county was supposed to have at least 300 isolation beds, strengthen case management units, put in place rapid response teams, facilitate contact tracing, and also ensure that public and social health measures are functional. Now, according to a document in our possession, about 23 counties, that's about half, have so far checked some or all the boxes. Just let's take a closer look at some of those counties. Now, the 23 counties in the green zone, which include Mombasa, Murang'a, Kiambu, Vihiga, Kilifi, Uasin Gishu, Makueni, Machakos, Homa Bay, Kisii, Nyeri, Trans Nzoia, Nandi, Kericho, Laikipia, Kirinyaga, Kakamega, Mandera, West Pokot, Kwale, Garissa, Bungoma, and Nakuru counties have managed to get that. And away from that, in the red zone, this meaning they're yet to meet even half of the set target, which include Lamu, which has the least number of isolation beds. They only have about 30 beds. Tana River, which has 43, and Kisumu only has about 67 beds. However, these counties here, which are in amber, have not yet reached the target, but are within a margin of between 150 and 250 beds. Like Kajiado here, which has 203 beds, and Busia, which has 220 beds. And considering these are border towns and potential hotspots for the spread of the virus, they will probably need to do better. So there you have it. in the red. So these are the ones that have the least amount of isolation beds, and they do not meet the threshold that the president was speaking about. Now, in the age of the coronavirus, touching and reaching souls had to take on a whole new meaning as religious leaders had to minister without violating health practices. But worship places are now taking a leap of faith and could reopen in 3 weeks, but under strict protocols to ensure safety of congregants. Kenyatta has more on some of these conditions that churches have to meet.
As fears over the coronavirus rippled through the country, places of worship had to take precaution and change their worship traditions, like communing without a community for social distancing. But that could change in just 3 weeks.
Individuals can attend worship in strict conformity with all applicable guidelines and protocols, including the self-regulating guidelines that have been developed by our friends of the Interfaith Council.
The churches had earlier argued that just like the rest of the population, they too had been hit by the harsh social and economic effects of the pandemic. The president announced the formation of an Interfaith Council to look into a safe reopening of places of worship. The team recommended that only a maximum of 100 worshippers be allowed in at a time. Church services will not be longer than 1 hour, that those aged between 13 years old and those aged over 58 years old are not allowed to attend church sessions, and those with underlying health conditions such as diabetes, asthma, heart disease, among others, will not be allowed into church services as they are among the at-risk groups. Madrasas and Sunday school services are also still prohibited, but despite this reprieve, mosques and churches will still have to navigate these safety concerns, as places of worship, much as they are a source of comfort, can also be a ripe ground for the spread of the virus. Among those concerns is how churches will identify those with or without underlying health conditions. Now, 3 weeks from now, this church compound could be filled with congregants for the first time in nearly 5 months, a sure sign of relief for those who have been forced to worship in their houses. But the House on the Hill will also be monitoring the patterns of the coronavirus to determine whether the guidelines will continue on or not. Zainab, NTV, Nairobi.
Well, the president underlined his decision to reopen the country with a call to the country to exercise personal responsibility to stem the spread of the virus. Listen in.
On the behavior of each and every one of us individually. So therefore, fellow Kenyans, to reopen and to remain open, you must become your brother's keeper. You must become your sister's keeper. This, therefore, is not just a call to reopen our country, but it is also a national call to civic responsibility.
Now, the final decision by President Uhuru Kenyatta to partially reopen the country by lifting some of the restrictions was not a one-man affair. Well, the president was guided by recommendations from a number of ministries and committees under the National Emergency Response Committee of the coronavirus. Well, today the president alluded to the competing interests, and that weighed on his ultimate decision. Here are some of the ministers who were critical in guiding the president's decision. So first up, we have Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe. He has previously advised the president against reopening the economy before the response preparedness threshold is achieved, as models pointed to a soaring of crisis. He voted against the reopening backed by other medical experts. His ministry is now tasked with coming up with the protocols that will guide all the response areas after the country was reopened. Well, secondly, is Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who also sits in the National Security Council. He voted for the reopening and will be in charge of ensuring all the guidelines put in place by the government are adhered to. This includes the dusk to dawn curfew that has now been extended for another 30 days. We also need to ensure compliance to safety protocols for public transport providers. And we also have Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, who has also been against the idea of reopening academic institutions, saying he cannot risk children's health. He is, however, now expected to notify the public on the resumption of the 2020 academic calendar for basic education and tertiary institutions tomorrow, as directed by the head of state. Well, away from that, time for a break on NTV tonight. But first, take a look at the damage floods have wreaked in Japan. So these cars are literally stuck in the mud, and efforts by tens of thousands of rescue workers were dumped as a result, while around 50 people are feared dead after the heavy rains lashed areas of western Japan beginning early Saturday, causing rivers to burst their banks. And despite this, more torrential downpours are forecast. All right, let's take that quick break. We still have a lot more we've lined up for you. Stay with us.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola, taste the simple joys.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optiven. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke. Optiven, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
Are you living a blessed life? Get this and more Christian music only on Angaza Music, Africa's first exclusive gospel service. In addition to music, get your best Bible stories, preachings and devotionals, church services, DJ mixes and more. Get Angaza Music for 10 shillings daily plus 50 MB data bundle. Dial *544#, then select option 6 on your Safaricom line. Angaza Music, Baraka Mkononi.
We all are looking for products to protect ourselves from viruses, but not all products protect us. Did you know that using Dettol soap and water protects against viruses? Many viruses are surrounded by an envelope with receptors that enable them to enter a human cell and cause infection. Dettol soap destroys the outer layer of the virus and effectively removes it. Protect your family from the spread of viruses with Dettol. Dettol cleans and is now tested and proven to be effective against COVID-19 virus. This has been Medivax for Dettol.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted. And always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
NTV Tonight with Zainab Ismail.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV Tonight. Now, as Kenya relaxes the containment measures it put in place in reactions to the coronavirus, there is a very real fear that we could see a surge in infections and overburden county healthcare systems. But even as Kenyans are exhorted to take personal responsibility and President Kenyatta preaches positive thinking, the role of the policymakers cannot be understated. Olive Barus reports.
Hindsight, they say, is 2020. And while managing the COVID-19 pandemic has been akin to navigating uncharted waters, there are those who appear to have weathered the storm better than others. The distinguishing factor appearing to be common sense.
Some countries such as Rwanda, even before they had any COVID case, they locked down. Uganda probably also fell into that. They had very good communication in that the government was clear and precise on the measures to take.
While Kenya's neighbors stopped receiving international flights even before the confirmation of a single COVID-19 infection, it was open season in Kenya. The Kenyan government turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to the danger posed by continuing to allow visitors from the epicenter of the disease. On February the 27th, when Ali Girev raised the alarm after a southern China plane landed in Kenya with no regard for containment, it was he that was sanctioned and not the government officials playing Russian roulette with the lives of Kenyans. Beyond pointing a temperature gun at those who arrived in the country, the authorities failed the test in enforcing quarantine, causing the disease to spread beyond Kenya's international flight hubs of Nairobi and Mombasa. A priest, for instance, traversed several counties to spread the disease in Siaya. As a whole, Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi of Kilifi contributed to the isolation of his county, a failure in effective communication of the life and death consequences of flouting the government's directives on restriction of movement. And when the proverbial waste matter hit the fan, it was the common man who paid with his life as the authorities rained blows on those who contravened the curfew. All the while, those on the right side of the political divide crossed county borders in droves for non-essential realignments. The head of state endorsing this double standard by contravening his own restrictions on gatherings of more than 15 with impunity, hosting parliamentary group meetings in State House and the Kenyatta International Convention Centre not just once or twice. And now, with Kenya's economy circling the drain, President Kenyatta's prescription is positive thinking.
A crisis always has two elements. The first is danger. The second is opportunity. Success is always given to the persons who exploit the opportunities but also manages to evade the danger.
As much as we'd like to, we cannot wish away the fear expressed by county governments that they're ill-prepared for a surge in COVID-19 infections. The ability of counties to not only test but contact, trace and treat is critical to containing the virus. President Kenyatta's administration having thus far adopted a policy of preaching water and drinking wine. Having proven themselves to be the weak link, perhaps this time they'll heed their own advice and remember that if they continue to behave normally, this disease will treat us all abnormally. Olive Barrows, NTV.
All right, let's now take a closer look at the coronavirus numbers in the country. And 181 more people tested positive out of a total of 2,131 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The national tally now stands at 8,067. 4 more people succumbed to the virus, bringing the total number of deaths to 164, while 127 more people have recovered after treatment to bring the total number of recoveries to 2,414. Nairobi has the highest number of cases with 134. Kiambu has the second highest number of infections with 19, Mombasa 9, Kajiado 6, Machakos 6, Lamu 3, Murang'a 2, Uasin Gishu and Kirinyaga 1 case each. And the reopening of the country in phases has definitely elicited different reactions from across the country. Well, here are some of your views.
Sasa vile amefungua hiyo lockdown, si watu wa Nairobi watatoka huku wakikuja kututembelea huku kwetu. So I think ndio ugonjwa hata ita spread more. Kwa vile mimi nilikuwa naonelea angetoa kafyo, lakini lockdown iendelee.
Na kama kuna kitu ya maana ilikuwa imeongojwa na wengi sana, ni makanisa ifunguliwe. Kwa sababu kama makanisa ingefunguliwa, unajua tunaenda tunaabudu pamoja. Na wakati mnaabudu mahali pamoja mkiwa wawili ama watatu, hapo ndio Mungu wako. Na unaona nchi yetu inapona.
Amefanya vizuri kutufungulia, sababu ya nini? Twende nyumbani tuwaone wenzetu, kwa sana wamisi sana kama wasasi wangu, wenzangu, mabeshte nini.
Ni swala ambalo tumelifurahia kama wakazi wa Mombasa. We are extremely happy to know that tunaweza kurudi katika kusafiri, tunaweza kufanya masuala ya kwenda misikitini, tunaweza kwenda pia katika makanisa ili kuweza kuabudu.
Umri wa miaka 58 ndio wengi idadi ambao wanakuwa katika nyumba za ibada. Sasa leo tunapoweka hapo, makanisa na misikiti itakuwa mitupu, kwa sababu vijana wa miaka 15, 20 si wengi ambao wanakwenda katika nyumba za ibada.
Hatua ya mtu mwenyewe kuweza kujichunga, kwa sababu ni lazima tuzoee kukaa na corona. Tuliweza kuishi na ukimwi, tumeishi na malaria, tumeweza kuishi na Ebola. Kwa nini tusiishi na corona?
I'm glad that the president have opened the churches. That is all my joy. Zingine hazijanifurahisha, but for the church, I'm glad.
We are very glad to the president for coming to such a decision. And we would also like to thank other stakeholders.
All right, definitely those are your views on today's directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Well, away from that, a police officer involved in the shooting of a hawker in Kisii has been interdicted. This is after residents violently protested and set the Rioma police station on fire as the police service contends with mounting anger over increasing cases of police brutality. Leila Mohammed reports.
The aftermath of an afternoon of running battles between police and residents of Rioma village in Marani, Kisii County was clearly visible. While the fires had died down, much of the station was destroyed by the community, which was angered by the killing of one of their own by a police officer. The officer has now been interdicted and will face murder charges.
Askari naye hataona amani katika maisha yake yote, kwa sababu hii damu ya kijana ambaye amemwaga na kijana mdogo na naye ameacha familia yake kidogo, hata naye Mungu atamuona na Mungu atamhukumu yeye mwenyewe.
Aliaga miaka mingi iliyopita. Kwa hivyo saa baada ya kusikia kwamba huyu ndugu wangu ameuawa, tulistaajabu sana na tunaona ni kama aliuawa kinyama sana. So tunataka haki itendeke.
Sawa kabisa. The man is said to have been a hawker selling hand sanitizers and face masks. The charged residents set the police station alight in retaliation. It took a while for police officers to calm the angry crowds that was seeking answers to what they say was yet another case of police impunity. Kisii Police Commander Jebel Munene says that the officer was taken into custody as soon as a formal complaint was lodged against him. The residents say they will keep up the protests until justice is served. It's not the first time that police have been accused of running afoul of the very law they are meant to enforce. This was the second time in 2 weeks that Kenyans have violently protested police killings. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
And we'll definitely be highlighting these issues all the time. Let's take a quick break here on NTV tonight. But before that, take a look at this. Have you ever thought about paragliding while on your coach and while watching TV? Probably in your wildest dreams. But in Turkey, one man did exactly that. A daredevil took to the skies almost without leaving the comfort of his living room while on his couch and in his slippers. The paragliding instructor rode high into the air in style but without a safety harness. We'll be back with the business news after this.
So vile nasema, wacha nikubatie statistics. Niko na gamia 1,500. Tunakuwa drapo gamia na kuwa 6,000. 2,000 natengeneza leather, natengeneza viatu, wallet, kibeti, nauza hapa, nabatia wewe 50%. Wacha niweke credit nikupigie.
Namna gani wewe? Hii mambo ya kuishiwa na credit kila saa? Come on. Nunua hiyo simu ya Vodafone. Calling fiber to fiber is 0 shillings per minute and it is not expensive. Only 2,999 Kenya shillings.
Hali wa. Hata fadhali hiyo credit ikae ninunue simu basi.
Faibika leo na Vodafone for only 2,999 Kenya shillings. It will always be free to call fiber to fiber.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
What makes a Kenyan dental mom powerful?
I encourage my kids to learn new things. And if they get hurt, I rely on the power of my Dettol's One Capful. To fight germs, it's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. I use the power of Dettol's One Capful to disinfect surfaces and clothes to keep them clean and safe from germs.
I trust the power of Dettol's One Capful for bathing. The power of Dettol's One Capful protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Dettol, Kenya's #1 antiseptic for fighting germs. Become a powerful Kenyan mom with Dettol. Be 100% sure.
Sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
TV Business News in association with Kenya Ports Authority, growing business, enriching lives.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's now take a look at stories making headlines in the world of business. And traders of second-hand products, popularly known as Mitumba, can heave a sigh of relief after President Uhuru Kenyatta announced that the government will set out protocols for resumption of imports. This comes just a day after the Mitumba Association had urged the government to relax restrictions on imports to help save the industry. Judith Cherono with the details.
The second-hand products industry is a key source of income for many Kenyans. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Kenya imported 1,077,160 tons of Mitumba valued at about 17 billion shillings in the first 6 months of 2019. Business in this industry has, however, ground to a halt ever since the government imposed restrictions on movement in March. The sector could soon have a new lease of life following today's directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
The Ministry of Health, in conjunction with the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, shall establish protocols for the resumption of the importation and sale of imported second-hand clothing.
On Sunday, the Mitumba Association of Kenya had tabled its plea to the state to step in and avert the loss of jobs and dwindling incomes, which were leaving many vulnerable. The association says its members are ready to comply with all protocols for resumption of business.
2 weeks ago, we submitted a set of comprehensive business protocols to guide the continued importation of trading of Mitumba in the country. The guidelines are in the tandem with the similar guidelines issued by the ministry.
Mitumba businesses are not only a source of income for many households, but also a source of cost-effective products for many who face tight budgets, especially in light of the COVID-19 shock. Judith Cherono, NTV.
Now, local and international flights are set to resume starting mid this month, a move which is hoped to help revive the battered tourism sector. This afternoon, President Uhuru Kenyatta announced the phased reopening of the skies as part of the relaxation of restriction of movement measures adopted in light of COVID-19. Victor Kiprop has the details.
When Kenya made the call to suspend all international flights in March due to the coronavirus pandemic, it put the brakes on a large part of the country's economy. But after 3 months grounded at the airports, these birds are about to return to the skies.
That local air travel within the territory of the Republic of Kenya shall resume effective Wednesday, the 15th of July, 2020.
Local flights will be the first to take to the sky on July 15th. But what exactly will flying during a highly contagious pandemic entail?
We have made a lot of changes at the airports. As you can see where we stand, there are physical distancing markers scattered all over.
Your temperature will be checked. If your temperature is below a certain limit, then you can fly. Your luggage will be, be sanitized. All your hand luggage should be put into your luggage before you go through the check-in.
These protocols are in line with International Civil Aviation, ICAO, and many other international associations like IATA, to make sure that we comply, number one, with the international standards, but also number two, we add on what we think is, we add value to ensuring safety of our passengers.
As expected, the tourism and hospitality sector, where thousands of jobs have been lost as hotels and businesses collapsed due to the pandemic, will receive a shot in the arm as local and international tourists and business travelers hit the road again.
This is not just about the international visitor, even the Kenyan visitor or the traveler who we want to encourage now. Because in the next 1 year, international travel will only grow by 20% in Kenya.
Kenya is the third largest tourism economy in sub-Saharan Africa after South Africa and Nigeria, with tourism contributing about 8% of the country's GDP. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
It has been 1 year since the derivatives market at the Nairobi Securities Exchange was launched, giving investors a more diversified offering at the capital markets. The derivatives market is designed to allow investors to safeguard themselves against unpredictable swings in the market. As Julian Samboko reports, however, analysts holds that Kenyans are yet to take advantage of the product.
On July 4th, 2019, the Nairobi Securities Exchange launched the Derivatives Exchange following approval from the Capital Markets Authority issued on May 29th, 2019. Between inception and July 3rd, 2020, the derivatives market has registered contracts worth 37 million shillings, with the busiest month being February 2020 and the least active month being April 2020. The derivatives market is designed to allow investors to safeguard themselves against unpredictable swings in the market by taking a long position if they expect prices to go up and a short position if they expect prices to fall. Majority of investors are, however, yet to take advantage of this market.
So the uptick in the derivatives market has been slower than we expected. We're seeing more activities from the retail end than the institutional end. But we expect that the volumes traded should go up as certain opportunities come up, like the ability to short the market during this period.
The single stock future of telecommunications company Safaricom accounts for the lion's share of the value of contracts, followed by that of KCB Group and Equity Bank. Together, the single stock futures accounted for 81% of the value of contracts, indicating investors have sought more exposure on these counters than the rest. Analysts argue that this can be attributable to a number of factors.
So the same interests that apply on the spot market apply in the derivatives market. There's more liquidity in the top 4 counters than the index itself. So in this case, you'd enter the index and sit on the board for, say, a few days, versus if you enter one of the single stock futures, you can get executed on the same day.
The Absa Group single stock future was the latest addition to the derivatives market on December 22, 2019, and has thus far seen contracts worth 445,000 shillings undertaken in the market. Julian's Amboko, NTV.
Now, Safaricom lost the bid to cap the free M-Pesa transactions to 5 per user after subscribers split high-value transfers to avoid paying transfer fees, costing it billions of shillings in revenue. The telecoms operator petitioned the Central Bank of Kenya to cap the number of multiple transactions between 2 numbers, according to a recent disclosure of conference call transcripts between Safaricom and investors seen by the Business Daily. For this and more business news, get your copy of the Business Daily tomorrow.
NTV Business News in association with Kenya Ports Authority.
Hello, I'm Captain Cargo. For questions and to discover more, visit me at www.kpa.co.ke/Captain Cargo.
All right, time for another breather here on NTV tonight. But before that, here's a classic case of poacher turning gamekeeper. Take a look. Fishermen in Senegal have now joined forces to protect one of the ocean's most endangered species, the sea turtle. The fishermen went from being poachers, the biggest turtle eaters, to being the biggest turtle protectors. They realized that the turtles, in fact, contribute to the preservation of other marine species.
Wakenya, hii fight hatukuchagua, lakini tuko na choice. Tuchague kujilinda. Tuchague kuprotect familia zetu. Tuchague usafi. Kuosha mikono. Kuosha manyumba zetu. Ndio tulinde watoto wetu. Na tuvae mask. Future yetu iko mikononi mwetu. Kenya, let's do it for the ones we love.
Ah, Helen Paul.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I've been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains removal. Harpic's thick formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach.
Wow, now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
Explorers of the night, wale wase wa kuhustle usiku, kustreama movies, music mix diehards, and gaming fanatics. We've heard you. It is now your time to fly your flag high. Do what you love, mpaka che na Telkom. Join Usiku Sako with Telkom night bundles that allow you rule the night at prices you love. Join our tribe, Usiku Sako Squad. Just dial *544# from your Telkom line and select the night bundle of your dreams. You are the legend the night needs.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's now take a look at stories making headlines globally and around Africa. Kampala's National Stadium, home of the national football team and Uganda's premier athletics venue, has been deserted for several months by sports funds due to the pandemic. But it could soon witness activity in the coming days as the government set up a field hospital with a 1,200 bed capacity for coronavirus patients. The country has recorded more than 2,100 cases. Patients showing severe symptoms will be treated in hospital, as those who are asymptomatic will be treated at the stadium. And Malawi's new president, Lazarus Chakwera, today received the sword of command at a scaled-down inaugural ceremony. Initially, the ceremony was scheduled to be held in a stadium in Lilongwe to coincide with the 56th anniversary of the country's independence. However, the ceremony was simplified due to the progress of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Jeno Teta Makanga Sopano Kupereka Lukanga Lauremu Papresentato Parliament Teta Dr. Lazarus Chakwera.
Has the president taken a risky gamble? Well, Kenyans say they can finally breathe following the easing of restrictions put in place to control the spread of COVID-19. Well, in your Daily Nation tomorrow, find out why the path chosen is fraught with danger. Plus, it's boom time for senior teachers set to receive their enhanced pay package from the end of July. Also, we remember Sabasaba and how the movement launched 30 years ago changed Kenya's political landscape for good. Do not miss your copy. Well, you can catch all that in your Daily Nation tomorrow. Do not want to miss your copy. Well, time for another break. When we come back, we'll be coming back with sports. But before that, take a look at this as well. Imagine dancing among waste matter. Well, that's just what dancers in France did. At the top of a slag heap, swayed by wind in a volcanic atmosphere, silhouettes move, then freeze. To promote the heritage of France's former mining basin and demystify contemporary dance, professionals and amateurs shot a choreographed film, but without an audience due to the COVID restrictions.
From Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
That is just for me. It really feels very comfy.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies. You should also try Molfix.
Sasa ruka. Nini? Ulikuwa tayari kuchangamka? Si ungesema.
Changamkia
Furahia vipindi vipendavyo, vichekesho, muziki, habari za utendeti na mengine mengi. Jione YouTube na Tenbo. Dial *544# and select YouTube.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optivan. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke. Optivan, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
Well, time for some sporting action now. Now, coach Stuart Hall has left Wazito FC on mutual consent. Hall confirmed that he has reached an agreement with the club to leave. The 61-year-old joined the club last November and had started to rebuild the team before COVID-19 halted the league in March. Hall, who also coached Sofapaka and FC Leopards, says he will now return to the United Kingdom to spend time with his family. The club says it will announce a new technical bench in the near future. And Athletics Kenya has engaged all stakeholders in the government's plan for the resumption of sports activities. AK has sent out a questionnaire to athletes and coaches seeking to collect information regarding COVID-19. The respondents are required to rate their trust in government's handling of the pandemic, their awareness of the disease, and which disciplines should resume first. On June 30th, the Ministry of Sports formed an advisory committee to draw up protocols required for the resumption of sports activities. And former Mount Kenya United head coach Anthony Mwangi has been keeping the youth in Molem busy in training. The coach, together with retired midfielder Charles Okwemba, are trainers at the A32 Football Academy. Coach Mwangi, who conducts training in line with the Ministry of Health guidelines, speaks to NTV Sport.
Mimi napenda sana vijana, napenda vijana wadogo kutoka miaka 20 kwenda chini. Na nimekuwa Liberty Academy, nimekuwa na Jamala Totos. So imekuwa ni kitu rahisi sana kwangu kuifanya juu napenda kukuwa nao vijana. Sasa nimekuwa na huku na tuko na talent mingi sana huku Islands lakini bilala. Sasa mtu wa kuzitoa nje ndiye hakuna. Na mimi niko hapa kama coach naweza saidia. Na hii mambo ya corona vile imekuja na nini. Sasa tunaona tunatumia group kidogo na kujaribu kujikinga, kujaribu kuwaleta pamoja kabla mambo irudi normal. Ndio tuweze kufunguka kabisa.
Hapa naona mnashirikiana na Charles Okwemba, alikuwa ni kiungo mahiri wa Harambee Stars na timu kadhaa hapa nyumbani.
Anasaidia sana kama vijana na anatuletea vijana wengi sana na ana uwepo wa kuweza kupeleka vijana kuwatafutia mahali. Na sasa ile anaongelesha vijana na ile pata amecheza kwa Premier League ya Kenya wanaiga kukua kama yeye.
Hapa naona mnatumia uwanja wa turf. Kimaoni yako turf na ile nyasi ya Mungu gani ndio nzuri?
Tunasema hii si mzuri sana, lakini kwa saa hii pande hatuna kiwanja mzuri ya nyasi. Na tunataka kuona ile tunasema passing, receiving ya kijana wa miaka 12, 13 hapo 15. Inafai kuwe mzuri sana. Sasa tunaanza hapa lakini kwa siku 2-3 tunafanya hapa. Alafu siku zingine tunafanya kwa kiwanja hiyo nyingine. Lazima tuwapatie platform ya kucheza pia bigger pitch ndio waweze kufanya nini kushowcase ile kitu wako nayo.
Huu ni msimu wa siasa katika FKF na ukiangalia kila mgombea anayekuja anasema soka mashinani. Nini kauli yako kwao?
Wacha Nairobi eti tuseme eti kama national team inatolewa na kutoa wachezaji karibu 10 hizi national team ndogo, wacha national kubwa. Hizi under 15 hata 20. Unakuta wachezaji wengi sana ni wa hapa. Ama lazima wacheze kwa Premier League ndio waonekane ni wa hapa. Lakini ukienda huko Kamega, huko Nyanza huko, kuna wachezaji wanacheza mpira lakini hawajaonekana.
Now, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says that he does not understand why his side has lost 9 Premier League games this season. City lost 1-0 at Southampton at St Mary's Stadium, a third straight-away league defeat. It is the first time in Guardiola's career that he has seen such a run. Che Adams scored the only goal for the Saints in the 16th minute. It has taken 30 appearances for the 23-year-old to open his account for the Saints. The win leaves Southampton in 13th place as City remains second. Tonight, Tottenham Hotspurs play Everton in London.
And the audacity to even take this on. That is a fantastic goal from Che Adams. Brilliant initially to nick the ball back. I think it's Zinchenko here who gets caught in midfield. The ball from the point to Zinchenko. Armstrong does ever so well, and great instinctive finish. Sees Edison off his line, but to get the...
Meanwhile, Barcelona thrashed Villarreal 4-1 to keep alive their slim La Liga title hopes. Barca took an early lead through Pau Torres' own goal in the third minute before Gerard Moreno levelled for Villarreal in the 14th minute. Luis Suarez scored the second goal in the 20th minute. Captain Lionel Messi then backheeled to Antoine Griezmann, who scored a magnificent chip in the 45th minute. In the 86th minute, Ansu Fati blasted in a late fourth. Barcelona are 4 points behind Real Madrid with 4 games to go and need their old rivals to slip up at the least twice to have a hope of retaining their title. Tonight, Eibar will visit Sevilla.
To Messi flicks it back. Griezmann going for the chip. Oh my days! What a goal!
And Inter Milan coach Antonio Conte said his team gifted Bologna a 2-1 win on Sunday after they blew a goal and a man advantaged to see their Serie A title challenge all but end in dramatic fashion. Antonio Conte's men needed a win to move back to within 8 points of leaders Juventus and one of the second-placed Lazio. But despite leading through Romelu Lukaku's 20th league goal of the campaign and playing against 10 men, contrived to collapse to defeat. Juventus sit 7 points clear at the top after beating Torino in the Turin derby on Saturday, when second-placed Lazio were thumped by AC Milan. In other results, Napoli moved level on points with Roma after Lorenzo Insigne's strike 8 minutes from time grabbed Gennaro Gattuso's men a 2-1 win over the 5th-placed outfit.
From Bologna, and they have turned this game around. What a break! Joana Palacio, and the finish coming from Barrow.
And Julien Bernard came away with a win on stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France. The Frenchman left it late, coming around Freddie Ovett and Michael Woods. It looked as though Ovett had the win in the bag, but he was caught just before the line by Bernard after the Frenchman used a late power-up. Patrick Bevin had attacked in the final 600 meters, but he was brought back just before the sprint opened up. The riders tackled the 29.5 kilometers Watopia mountain route from the comfort of their own homes on the popular Zwift training platform after the COVID-19 pandemic forced the postponement of the annual July race to the end of August. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for keeping us company. Our sign language interpreter this evening was David Agondor, as we look forward to the couple of hours remaining to the lifting of the cessation of movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera, together with other directives given out or announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta today. We'll be reviewing more of his speech tomorrow, so you want to stay tuned to us from the entire team here at NTV. Have yourself a lovely night and stay safe.
This is NTV.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Namaste. In hard times like these, we must remember the important role played by family as the foundation upon which the society is based and ordained by God, and resist any temptation to stigmatize those who have been affected or infected by the disease. Let us follow up our family members to practice all measures as given by our government. Above all, let us constantly check on the well-being of our family members as taught by our religion. He is the creator, he is the ordainer and the source of all types of motion and energy. He is the highest feeder. Infection control, including voluntary isolation, is inherent in our faith and behavior in our effort to protect each other from contagious infects. Therefore, let us follow the government directive on social distancing, like the way we do the namaste instead of shaking the hands. The infection control, including the voluntary isolation, is the inherent in our faith and behavior in our effort to protect each other from contagious infects. Therefore, let us follow the government directive on social distancing as it were the part of our faith.
NTV.